As the Uruguayan curls one in. Oh, Middlesbrough take the lead!
Following the imminent departure of Chuba Akpom, the number of goals that Boro have lost in their team from the back end of last season has pretty much doubled with Akpom leaving. We've now not got a goal scoring number 10, we've not got a top quality forward, a top quality number 9 anymore. Emmanuel Latilafi is imminent, but I believe Boro will need more than just that if we had to replicate the number of goals and just the sheer attacking force that we had last season. And a big part of where Boro could do that is in the Premier League loan market, which, as we well know, usually only kicks in until the final week or two of the window, when the Premier League clubs have made a decision on some of their assets who are maybe not going to get a game, or maybe it's just best for their development that they are loaned out to a different club. And one of the big names, which is apparently on the lips of every single Championship club, is Cameron Archer, who of course Boro had last season on loan from January onwards, scoring 11 goals in 20 appearances. And if he'd have gone on to have around the same number of games as Chuba Akpom, his goals to game ratio and just goal involvements would have been pretty much on, if not at a higher level than Chuba's, which just shows at this level Cameron Archer is a player who can be the difference between a team maybe getting from mid-table into the playoffs into the automatics. And that is the exact step forward that Boro need right now. They need a forward up front who can provide the number of goals that he did, as well as trying to replace the goals that they've lost through Akpom. And of course we had Archer last season, and I do believe if we'd have got promoted, there'd have been an unbelievable chance we would have signed him permanently when we'd gotten into the Premier League. Alas, we didn't, and we find ourselves back pretty much in square one again, which is what happens when you sign loan players. Unless you go up to the next division or gain the funds to buy them permanently, usually the whole point of loaning out a player from a Premier League team, for example, is that you simply cannot afford to buy them outright. So you borrow them and hope that it can get you to where you want to be, and then usually, if that's the case, you'll probably try and buy them. Sadly for Boro, we weren't able to do that, and we are needing to pretty much fill the same position once again. And it makes no less sense to fill that position with a guy who we know can fill it, can deliver, fits the squad, fits the system, than a guy who we had do it in exactly the same way last season. However, due to Cameron Archer's unbelievable season, his stock has inevitably risen, and I for one thought that Villa would want to keep him in and around the squad, given the fact that they've got European competitions this season and will need, naturally, a bigger squad fighting on more fronts. However, despite the noise at the start of the window seeming that was the case, Unai Emery appears to be open to not only the loan of Cameron Archer, but the sale of Cameron Archer, and that has undoubtedly raised the ears of many Championship and lower-end Premier League clubs, and the interest seems rife. I've seen the names Bristol City, Hull, Stoke, Boro, Leeds, all interested in him. Leicester I may have even heard too, but then of course you've also got the teams at the bottom end of the Premier League, like Sheffield United, like Luton, who are also interested in him. So, can Boro actually get Cameron Archer back? Do I think it will happen? And where do I think he'll end up? Well, I think personally the chances of us getting Cameron Archer back are very slim. I feel like a lot of things would have to fall into place for us to be the next available option. Apparently, he wants Premier League football. Understandable. It's proven. I think he can play towards the top end of the Championship, and inevitably he's 21. The next step in his development is to play in the Premier League and play at the bottom end of the Premier League, I think, for starters. And when he left Boro at the end of last season, I could picture him in a Sheffield United shirt. I could just see it. And Sheffield United are desperately in need of reinforcements. They've sold Iliman Ndiaye, they've missed out on Chuba Akpom, as well as selling other star assets like Sander Berger. Of course, they've replaced him with the likes of Gus Hamer, but they still need a striker. And I could see it before, I can see it clear as day. I see Cameron Archer in a Sheffield United jersey next season. There's a gap there for him in the squad, and I think he's the type of forward who might help them somehow, steer towards potential survival next season. The expectations are maybe not as high, which means the pressure's maybe not as high for him, and I feel like he can go there and play his natural game, and it's sort of a win-win. If they go down, he'll probably show what he can do in the Premier League anyway, because they're kind of expected to go down in their current situation. But if he does help them stay up with his goals, then his stock will just go on to the next level, and just having that Premier League experience will help him massively. So for me, as much as it pains me with my Middlesbrough hat on to say I want him here, that would be the ideal place for him, I would say. But of course the question is, can Sheffield United afford him? And I'm not 100% sure they can. The finances at Sheffield United, the noise coming out of the club is that they are really working on tight finances at the moment. They seemingly couldn't afford to go that extra step with Chuba Akpom, else why he's gone elsewhere. And I think Archer's going to be worth at least another 10 million on top of Chuba Akpom. Boro wanted 12 mil. I reckon Villa are probably going to want at least 20 for Cameron Archer, which is crazy, but that's the market we're in. And whether they feel like they can afford to pay that for a player who, albeit hasn't played much Premier League football, could be a bit of risk for them. So as much as I think Sheffield United are the best fit for him, I'm not convinced they'll be able to actually buy him outright. So maybe they'll loan him. That could be the best option, but I don't think they'll be able to afford to buy him outright. Then there's Luton, and I think Luton would be their then next step down. And for me personally, I just don't see how that would work. They've got Morris, they've got Adebayo. Don't know if Archer fits Luton's style of play. I just can't picture it. I just can't see that working. And I just feel like, and a bit like Sheffield United, Luton are probably going to go down again next season. So maybe it would make sense for them to buy Archer, because we have this theory that they're building some sort of championship super team for, a potential relegation, so they can bounce straight back up again. And if you're buying Ryan Giles and you're buying all these very, very well accomplished championship players, you buy Cameron Archer, if you get relegated, he will fire you straight back up undoubtedly. So if Luton have got this theory, this I guess compromise, that if they do go down, which is likely, let's be fair, and they're buying players who are maybe ready for that outcome to get them back up again, Cameron Archer would be the perfect striker for me in that position and for that scenario. However, does he fit their style of play? Not sure. Is he going to get in ahead of Adebayo and Morris? There's maybe a bit of competition there that Archer might not want. He might want to be a guaranteed starter in that team, and I'm not sure they can guarantee that. So, although I can see it working logically, I just can't see it working from a football sense. And then you drop down to the Championship, and this is where I think Boro have a chance. If neither of the Premier League clubs fancy him for whatever reason, then the gap might open up for Boro. But even then, they might be battling with some of the relegated sides who, of course, come down with parachute payments and just have stronger resources. You're looking at Leeds, who are apparently interested. That seems a more strong interest, along with Sheffield United. And even though Boro will have, I guess, funds to chuck a bid in, I think if they get into a bidding war with a relegated Premier League club, it's very high chance that Boro are going to lose out on that bidding war. Now, I think it's worth saying Leeds have gotten rid of a lot of players this summer, but all of them on loans. So they're still paying, I think, a huge chunk of some of these Premier League wages that they had last season, and they've only recouped £3 million in transfer fees. So despite the parachute payments, which of course are designed to help teams with a bit of a comfort blanket coming down without the TV money, which I'm sure Leeds are going to need because they've not really recouped much money, could they still afford to put some of that towards Cameron Archer? If it was a Leicester, a Southampton, who've recouped 70 million so far and probably will recoup even more, especially Southampton, I don't think Boro would stand a chance trying to fight them teams financially. However, Leeds, there's maybe a chance there. If they just cannot commit the money, then there's a chance Cameron Archer might not go there. And I think the next step down then is potentially a championship club, and that's where it would open up for Boro. What I will say, if no Premier League team can get him, if a relegated side maybe doesn't fancy him, that's when I think he's Boro's. And this is where I think all championship clubs are under the same umbrella. They're all fighting at the same level, and even though Cameron Archer wants Premier League football, if his only option is to be a guaranteed starter and probably the main man in every championship team, I still think he'll take that. But I do think he'll want to play for a championship team who he feels will be fighting for promotion, so that if he's not playing Premier League football this season, he's pretty much guaranteed to be playing it next season. So a top-end Championship club fighting for promotion, and despite Borough's poor start, he will consider us one of them clubs. And on top of him just being familiar with the surroundings, with Michael Carrick, with the style of play, and the familiarity around being at Boro, I think that is going to be pivotal if Cameron Archer is made to make a decision on a Championship club. And if he's got the whole raft of Championship clubs to choose from, I think Boro would be his first choice. But I do feel like that would have to be a loan. And yes, Boro will have gotten funds from the Chuba Akpom sale, but I still don't feel like we'll have anywhere near enough. And it will be worth the risk to pay 15 to 20 million for Cameron Archer. I don't feel we've got that money, and I don't feel we're that type of a club anymore who would splash the cash on a forward, regardless of how much we can trust him, how much we're familiar with him. I just don't feel like that's in Boro's model anymore. So anyone barring the relegated clubs would have to loan him first, and I think that's what Boro and the rest of the Championship teams would have to do. And what I would say, and it's easy me saying this, loan him and offer Villa a guaranteed fee if we get promoted. So a loan to buy, in a sense. I think that's the best chance Boro will have. And if they match the loan to buy, the loan fee, the guaranteed fee on promotion, I think if Boro can match any other club in the Championship in that department, I think he'll be ours, because I don't think any other club, not many clubs, I think could commit to a promotion fee that Villa would believe, unless they were a club they believed were going to fight for promotion. Boro are one of them clubs. So I think the next step, the guaranteed step in the Championship at least, for him to be fighting for promotion and to be a Premier League player and to guarantee Villa the fee that they probably want next season, that puts Boro in a strong position. However, I still think there are plenty of other things that have to go wrong and have to fall into place before Boro are sort of the prime candidates to take advantage of that. So if he doesn't go to a Premier League club, if he doesn't go to a relegated club, I think he's Boro's. But my gut feeling tells me, I feel like Sheffield United will find a way of buying him for Villa, and I see that fitting. I have done since the end of last season, and my gut is that he will be a Sheffield United player next season. That's the only club I can see him going to unless something else comes in left field. However, if he is going to come down to the Championship, I think we stand a chance as long as we don't have to get into a bidding war with the relegated side. So guys, that's my thoughts on Cameron Archer returning to the Boro. There's a 10 to 15% chance, I think. Boro hold a couple of cards just because of last season and the experience he had, and Michael Carrick and how he sort of utilised him. But yeah, the lad wants to play Premier League football, and that's the big if, the big problem. So we'll see what happens, but this is probably one that's going to go all the way down to the wire. It's going to be the last week. It might even be deadline day. So let's just hold our breath and pray that the pieces fall into place, and somehow, somewhere, Cameron Archer is a Boro player come the end of the window. So guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, whether you're a fan of Boro. Let me know if you think he will come to the club and if you think it's realistic right now, or if you're a fan of another club who are linked with him, do you think there's more of a chance he'll go to your club instead? Do leave me a comment below with all that juicy info. Do subscribe for much more Boro and football related videos to come. A big thank you for watching. Do take care, and I'll see you all next time.